All right, welcome to SA Boxing Talk. Last interview for the year with you, Colin Nathan. 2024 coming to an end. How are you feeling?
Feeling good. This is the last interview you and I are having with you being a single guy, because it's a big moment for you getting married. I hope marriage doesn't change you. But 2024 has been really, really good, and I think 2025 is going to be spectacular.
I think so too. At least from what we've heard, the plans are going to be, and obviously you've got to sit down and formalize a few things, but it sounds like exciting times. Are you excited ahead of the new year?
I am excited. I've just seen from a personal perspective on Boxing 5 how the brand and the company's just grown in leaps and bounds. We've got amazing fighters on our books. We've got some amazing fighters that are going to be signing on our books next year. And I just think that it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And I just think it's just phenomenal for boxing in South Africa and Africa. And it's nice to see that there are other tournaments taking place, that the fighters are getting opportunities to fight and earn money. And I think that, and get obviously build their records. And unfortunately, some of the guys who are not going to win lose their records. But that's the reality of the sport. We want fighters to fight and we want shows to happen. And I think, we're finishing off the year from a South African perspective. I was reading on one of the social media platforms that there are going to be so many shows in December. So it's just a great energy for boxing in the country at the moment.
I went on to Boxrec the other day. I see like 3 shows alone in KZN that's going on, and I think there's obviously a show happening tomorrow night as well. So it's tonight. So that's also big as well.
Yeah, again, it's like, yes, we're all competitive, but the reality is, from a boxing fan perspective and from the fighters' perspective, we want shows to happen. We want the fighters to fight, and I think it's just great for being a boxing fan at the moment here in South Africa, just to kind of keep your finger on the pulse and just watch the events. So it's great. It really is great.
All right, so you've got 3 new signings coming in that I've seen and I've covered. You've got the Hamza Hassim and you've got the Kalegi brothers as well. The Kalegi brothers, they're exciting, and so is Hamza Hassim. What do you think of those 3?
I think they're phenomenal. I think all 3 of those kids are phenomenal. I think, don't forget Doron Zinman, who was very, very impressive in his pro debut. Very impressed with him. I think, just talking about Doron, I think he overall is probably the most improved fighter in the gym this year. And just like big credit to him, he had a total mind shift. He changed his style. He adapted to what we needed to do. He was very pliable, and I think he's got a great little future ahead of him. When I say little, because he's short and like a cartoon character. But Hamza and the Kalinga brothers, I think they're phenomenal. I've seen Hamza lose to, the first time I laid eyes on him was about 2.5 years ago, when he fought Saki, one of Sean's amateur hot prospects. And he lost a headline decision. And I thought, man, this kid can fight. And then the next thing, he came and he joined the amateur program here for Sean Ness. And he came to us as 0-4. And Sean Ness has just literally turned his career around. So very impressed with him. Very impressed with Sean Ness's amateur program. It's packed here. It's packed here in the evenings. You can't actually move. Sometimes you can't get a bag. And it's just phenomenal to see, like a dream of Sean, that he had this dream that he wanted to develop all these fighters, and now it's starting to filter in. So Sean Ness, one of his babies from his program, is now crossing over to Boxing 5, and obviously No Doubt Management, with Sean being the head coach, and I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, this is Sean's second boxer that he's bringing in. Luco being the first, and Luco's 2-0 so far. So good. So far, so good.
And also Daniel Adams, who was a Boyson's boy, but. But also, I want to talk about the Kalinga brothers. I have to say a big shout out to Fight with Insight. Their program is phenomenal. Luke, Danila, Chris, Laborti, all those guys, the fighters that come from that program are well schooled, good technique. They come with an excellent base, and a just big shout out to Fight with Insight. They really are doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, and they look like interesting characters as well. I mean, being brothers, and they apparently on Christmas Day they sometimes have a spar. So you got some characters coming into the gym as well.
Well, that's good. It's also a good selling point for us. Hamza, I mean, if you saw his socials when you made that announcement, it was just incredible. So I believe that these kids are going to be the stars of South African boxing for tomorrow. And obviously, it's very important. We Boxing 5, we've developed 4-round fighters who are now being pushed into 6 and 8, and now on the cusp of fighting for championships next year. There's Creed Moyer, there's Frank Sotomela, there's Ishmael Kadri. Those are the guys who started with us like on a 4-round, 6-round level, and now being elevated to now, did I mention Katlego? Can you say? I did. Hey, okay, got. And congratulations to him, South African Youth Sportsman of the Year. Phenomenal. Very proud of him. So we've developed these fighters, and now when Larry sat with you a few weeks ago saying, well, now we've got to look for the next stock of athlete from 4-round level to develop, and that's kind of where we're at now. So very, very impressed. Very happy as well.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the youngsters. They're so hungry. I see like Kadri's already back in the gym and he's like relentless. He just wants to get going, probably aiming for that first show of the next year the way he's going.
Yeah, and big shout out to his assistant coach, Dominique Ferreira, who's a good friend of ours, family friend within the boxing community. Yeah. And he's just, I liked Ishmael's last performance. Everyone's saying you could have done more maybe. But here's the thing, is that I sat Ishmael down and I said to him, defense is so important. Took his time, landed that right hand, defensively was really, really good. Didn't take a lot of headshots. And I saw a lot of improvements. I saw him nice and calm. And also on that right hand, when he let it go, I mean, it was all she wrote. So I was impressed with his performance. I really, really was. The fact that he didn't take a lot of shots. Again, it wasn't like a fan-friendly kind of fight, but that's because he defensively was also very, very tight and sharp. And you can't have a war in every fight. So I was very, very impressed with him.
Do you think as well, like it's obviously a slight change in style, so he's going to need like an adaptation period as well?
Well, I think he's going through that now, and I was very impressed with I've just seen him as a young man mature as well. He got engaged, so congratulations to him and his partner. And I just see, I met Ishmael when he was a kid, and it's great to see him growing into a man. And just from his whole total outlook on boxing and where he is emotionally, just phenomenal. I think he really is a star for tomorrow, and I think he's now that star starting to shine. We've seen it. 9-0, very impressed with him, and he really did take care of business. So I think he's going to have a great big year in 2025.
Yeah, nice year for these guys, these 8-rounders going into that sort of title atmosphere. Some of the big fights from the year, do you have any particular favorites?
Well, we can't not talk about Sivanati reclaiming his championship. That was massive in Mexico. Doing it in front of 10,000 Mexican fans, that was absolutely phenomenal. It was like a great, great fight to watch. It kind of had ebbs and flows. And, the first 5 rounds, people were thinking, like, why are we doing this? Why are we fighting in the pocket with a Mexican? And the game plan really came into fruition. That's exactly how I wanted him to fight. And then, obviously, with Pumalela Kafu shocking the world. I mean, with 14,000 Japanese fans in the crowd and us pulling off a split with him winning and with the knockdown in the 5th round, it was just phenomenal. It was probably, those 2 moments obviously stood out for me this year. And also just to see the young fighters develop for Boxing 5, it's been phenomenal. And to see all the shows being sold out, it's just incredible. So we have outgrown the venue, talking about Boxing 5, and we are looking for a bigger venue. We've got 1 or 2 venues in mind that we're in discussions with. But again, we'll keep Boysons for the development, and the bigger shows with the bigger fighters, the Pochitas and Kane Faris and the Kadris, we're going to have to find a bigger venue. And I think now's the right time. We've grown amazingly well throughout the year, and I think now's the time's right now for us to kind of, move on and, find a bigger venue.
And you mentioned Kane Free. They've just done a rollout with Kane Free, Gad Stratum. Obviously they're really excited about what they're doing next. What do you think? I mean, obviously, if we are going to go into the new year and probably make decisions, but I mean, for now, were you happy with the last performance?
I was happy. I thought Kane made the fight a little difficult for himself and not using his range. I think when he used his range in that 4th round on that jab, it was kind of all over. But again, there was a little bit of an inexperience. I thought on the bell at the second round, it was a fair punch that made him fall into the ropes, and I think that would have been called a knockdown. I think the fact that, and I thought the referee at that point, had the second punch not landed after the bell, would have been justified in giving him a knockdown because the ropes saved him from falling down. But the second shot was after the bell, and when the referee counted fine, end of the round, I would have called time. I would have told both fighters to go to the neutral corner. I would have admissioned the Ghanaian fighter, and I would have asked Kane if he needs more time to recover. That's what I would have done. The end of the 3rd round, I would have deducted a point because it was blatant again. The fact that he took a really hard shot, came back, showed a lot of heart and balls, and great conditioning from Coach G. And he actually did eventually get behind his jab, and he realized, listen, let me get my range on this guy. I thought it was a great test for him. I think he showed a great heart, a good chin, and he showed that he actually does have the IQ to deal with that kind of situation when the chips are down. Great fight for me, fight of the year in South Africa, and I do think he'll improve from this performance. Still very, very young, like only 22. It's crazy. So very excited about him. Also very excited about bringing back Lerato Dlamini. Sikon Kotoli's, like, he's up there. So we've got a lot of good fighters that are world class, that we are looking at edging and bringing through, getting them in contention. So it's just very, very exciting for Boxing 5. And I think Kane is a superstar in South African boxing. I think he's drawing power, the fact that he can, and I listened to the interview by Coach G, if he lands, he's gonna hurt you. He's gonna hurt you. So I think now, obviously, the plan would be, if I was them, just obviously to develop his jab, get back to basics, because he's got all the attributes. He's got the height and he's got the range. He allowed the Ghanaian to break his range in that fight, and I thought when he came up, that's when the right hand caught him. And I think he got mixed up in fighting the wrong fights. But when he did show his attributes in that jab in the fourth round, it was all over.
All right, and obviously looking at what you're doing with the other fighters abroad, Kane Free is seeing and observing everything. He wants to fight in Japan as well. What was your thoughts on that?
He's hell-bent on that, and I think his time's going to come. He's in a very exciting division, highly rated by BoxRec. Now we're going to start moving him along in the world ratings. It's great to be ambitious, and I love his confidence. And on working just on that, I think he's made of the right stuff. Do I think the next fight's going to be in Japan? Probably not. But equally, we've got to sit down as a team. But again, I think the world of visibility. I think he's got that. You know what the thing is that, you got dropped and you got hurt. But when you got that equalizer, when you got that drawback power, it's always going to be a factor in boxing. Although I do think, though, if he never ever landed that left hook to score those two knockdowns, and he got behind his jab, I think he would have outpointed him and forced a stoppage. So here's the thing, and I've said it to you in previous interviews, as long as you keep winning, you can't be denied. So those opportunities will come. And I rate his power. I think he really can knock anyone out with that left hook in the 45. And he's got a good right hand too.
Yeah, he's a strong guy as well. And you mentioned just earlier on Lerato Dlamini as well. He's like he's a tricky one as well, because he's so highly rated as well. But you almost feel like the B grade fighters, he just schools them completely. So what do you think about him now?
We need to get him back with a win, and that's obviously the plan. And then obviously get him back in contention, which will happen in 2025. And then again, push him again. He's at the stage of his career where he can fight internationally, he can fight world-class guys, he can fight for a world title. And on his night, we all know that he lost the split decision. I thought the knockdown cost him. You were there. No complaints, we lost. It is one of those things. But equally, I think we need to make mention, and no excuses, but he was in hospital with pneumonia. Like 8 weeks out from his fight. He came in here looking like a ghost, and I was like, and then he did put on the weight and he looked good. But he confessed to us after the fight that he wasn't 100% himself. And I think Lerato at 100% can be tricky and be world champion on any day.
Do you almost feel like, I don't know what Komeda's plans are and what, his decisions in the future, but like a trilogy, considering it's a split and a split?
Yeah, obviously that would make sense. Does he get does he get Leo in his next fight being mandatory? I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there. It's not my business or my problem. My problem and my challenge and what I'm going to achieve with Lerato is to get him back in contention. If they want the rubber match, no problem, we're available. But they probably don't want that, if I'm honest. They probably want to go for the world title. But let's see if that collapses and they want the rematch or the rubber match, the trilogy, we could do it. Either I could see Komeda kind of retiring. That's how I see it.
And obviously Sivanazi Nonshinga is the other guy that's a world class and motivated probably now to do a 3-time world champion. Obviously it's been, it's hard at world level as well. You go up, you go down, you go up, but he's one of the guys that always rises to the occasion when he's the underdog. Absolutely, and we still are undecided if we're going to move him up. It's a conversation that I still need to sit down with him, maybe send him to a sports doctor just to kind of see where he's at, just in terms of physiologically, because he's got the frame to move up and he's got the limbs.
maybe we just take a look at how he cut weight the last time and just, see where he's at now, just walking around being sedentary. But the plan would be is to obviously get him back in the winning column. I'd love to do a fight down in East London just to bring him back. And I think that's probably looking likely for 2025. And then again, just move him in the ratings depending on what division we choose and where he's comfortable at. And then get him to be a 3-time champion of the world. Very excited about that. He's just turned 26, so he's he's still young. Yeah. He's still very, very young.
Yeah, you mentioned that he's just 26 and he's a 2-time world champion, looking to be a 3-time world champion. He could be breaking a lot of records there, I'm sure, as well.
I think so, and he's just got such natural ability. He unfortunately had an off night, and the off night cost us his championship, and it happens in boxing. But, we're ready. We're going to pick up the pieces, put them back together, and make him 3-time champion of the world.
All right, and there's a lot of boxes that you have in your books at the moment. Have you been through the list yet of how many boxes that you are currently managing or training?
Currently signed 3 to the company, to No Doubt Management. Sorry, 11 to the company for No Doubt Management. I was actually doing the roster 2 days ago in the office, and we're looking at signing 4 or 5 new kids on the development side. And then, the new year, depending on what the new year brings, there's always going to be athletes wanting to join us to do, co-management agreements, co-promotion agreements. We're always open to doing business. And the other kid that I'm really, really excited about, and I mentioned this to you before, is Prince Taylor. Man, I think the world of this kid. And we obviously need to sit down with him and Jack Bryce and Larry, and we're going to see how we're going to move the kid. I really do think the world of his ability. I think he's hot, 20 years old. He's made of the right stuff, very charismatic, good-looking kid, punches, got good boxing skills. And he's one of the kids that I really also want to focus on. And it's kind of difficult because he's already a champion, but he's only had 6 fights. So we just kind of have to navigate on how we're going to move him along in 2025. But I think 2025 is going to be a big year for him. I do.
And do you anticipate that he will come up and spar some of the other guys up here?
I think so. I know Emil Bryce is now training him, which, Emil and we have a long history. He's a good friend of mine. Also one of the guys who wanted to kill me a few years ago. Now I'm actually a little disappointed with Emil. That like at least once a year used to threaten my life, and now we laugh about it and we're good friends. But Emil's a very competent trainer in Cape Town, very disciplined, very dedicated to his craft. So it just depends on how we structure it. But I'm happy that he's obviously got a good base now. Bones, I think, is still involved in his career. They're big friends, and so hopefully they don't lose that dynamic. But again, at the end of the day, Hayden, I work for the fighter, so I've got to do what the fighter wants and what makes the fighter happy. And then obviously collectively we can make the decision. So just excited about the future. I think he really is a very talented kid.
All right, and he obviously has to be seen by hopefully on DAZN as one day as well. Sure. Cole, anything else that you wanted to add?
No, it's just been a fantastic year. Listen, we've had a lot. Listen, this year has been a lot better than last year, particularly from a administration boxing South Africa perspective. We're still waiting for the announcement of the board. I think Minister Gator McKenzie is going to be doing some good work for next year. We've already seen a lot of these facilitators, I call them. They're not promoters because they're reliant on government to be doing less shows. And that's because they're not actively working. They need to go in the public sector and they have to actually find sponsorship. You can't be reliant on governments. And that's why I can't really call them promoters. I call them facilitators. And next year particularly, I think we're going to separate the boys from the men and the men from the boys, particularly who are real promoters, who actively put their hands in their own pocket to make shows happen, to go into the private sector, to get funding, to make it work. And I think that's what we're going to see more of next year. And then, of course, it's the new board, and then hopefully we have a new CEO, and hopefully boxing will flourish. And that's the whole point of 2025. We want boxing and the fighters just to be active and create a great global spectacle for South African boxing. We have the talent. I've always said this to you over the years. We've got the talent. Let's just get the talents where they need to be, and that's world class, and get people smiling and shining about South African boxing.
Perfect, Cole. And I just wanted to wish you all the best for 2025. It's right around the corner. And that's it for 2024.
Yeah, I'm just going to say I hope marriage doesn't change you, eh?
Viva.
Viva.